Some say the most wonderful time of the year is Christmas and New Year, but here on the Sports Cubicle, we believe the best time of the year is Wild Card Weekend. And of course, to celebrate such a wonderful time, we bring in our friend, the one and only from the Daily Blitz, Chris Simpson joins Devin Tingle and myself, Mike Mercado, on the Sports Cubicle to break everything down this Wild Card Weekend. Christian, how are you? How excited are you for a crazy good amount of intriguing games this wild card slate that we get?
Well, first, I'm doing well. Thank you guys for always having me on, man. It's always an honor to come on and talk with you guys. Man, it's wild card weekend. Who's going where? Who's advancing where? Who's going to play who? It's just a ton of intrigue right now in the air. And who are going to be those two teams that we see playing on February 13th in Inglewood, California at SoFi Stadium?
And that's, of course, if the game is still played in the new home of the Rams and the Chargers. And we'll keep an eye on that here on the Sports Cubicle. And, of course, keep up to date with everything that is COVID-19 updates here on WCPT 820 AM. So, Christian, that is the end game. That is where we're all trying to get to: organization, fans, players. But before we get there, we have this weekend. It is my favorite weekend in sports, and that's not being hyperbolic. I love that this is a bunch of football games between 2 days, and it's not just a week 15, a week 14. These are playoff teams. And this year, other than, and I'm not even going to disrespect them and say that they don't belong, but if the weaklings of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers are your weakest teams this year, that's a pretty good playoff field. So before we break down some of these games, what are your initial thoughts of the teams that we have playing against each other this season in the wild card weekend?
I've never in a million years that I think the Cincinnati Bengals will win the AFC North this year. I mean, they completely came out of left field, and I'll admit it was a little bit of an up and down year for them, because there were weeks when some people were considering them the best team in the AFC, and then they drop the ball, they win a big game, and then lose 2 games after that. But they got hot and won games when they knew they needed to, and just a complete 360. What a difference being healthy makes. Look at Joe Burrow. I mean, last year he tears that ACL. This year he's in the playoffs, and I think he'd be my comeback player of the year right now. The Philadelphia Eagles, coming into the year, it kind of screamed intrigue. You see what I'm saying? Like, you fire Doug Peterson, you trade Carson Wentz, have a young quarterback in Jalen Hurts starting, have a rookie head coach in Nick Sirianni, so you really don't know where this team is going to go. But they got here because of a power running game. They're running the football with consistency, and they're running it powerfully.
Christian, this is something that's really interested me all season long, and, obviously – host of the show, Paul Chivari, is our local Raiders fan, and this team has gone through a bunch of ups and a lot of downs, and not just a normal amount of downs, a scary type of downs, especially when you look at the Henry Ruggs situation and, of course, John Gruden. Here's this team now in a crazy matchup against a team that has the potential to win the entire tournament. How did they get here? How can they win on Saturday?
How did they get here? They believe in one another. Like, the confidence in that locker room just speaks tremendous volumes. Because, see, here's the thing. Everybody outside of your locker room can say what they want. But here's the thing. They don't play. You do. And they've done it with somewhat of a balanced offensive attack. And I'll just say this right here and right now. They're not here without Derek Carr. Like, he's really taken on an immense leadership role. It's been absolutely remarkable to see. I'm so proud of him. The way they win the game, they have to slow the game down. They got to run Josh Jacobs, and they have to really use Hunter Renfrow in the red zone.
Devin?
Yeah, definitely, Christian. One thing, though, I got to say, I'm actually very shocked that the Steelers kind of made it in here. And a lot of people are speculating this is going to be Big Ben's last year. I don't really see them making it past this wild card weekend. Do you think there's any hope or anything with this team kind of, make Ben proud on his big hurrah out of here?
Have to run the football, run the ball, keep Mahomes and that offense on the sideline, pressure him. I I'd bring probably I'd stack the box with 7. And look at what a bunch of teams have been doing throughout the year. Tampa Bay unveiled the blueprint last year. Now teams are kind of adding their own touch. They're keeping safeties high. They're playing man coverage underneath, and they're forcing the Chiefs to earn everything underneath, meaning they're going to make Mahomes throw it to the flat, whether it's Jerick McKinnon or McCole Hardman in the flat, anybody but Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce taking the top off your zone. So I think the Steelers are going to have to do that. It adds your little twist to it. Play that man coverage and force them to earn things, 5, 10, maybe 12 yards underneath. Anything above 15, you're going to get burned.
Christian Simpson joins us today on the Sports Cubicle with Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, Dan Marver, and myself, Mike Mercado. He is the host of the Monday Evening Quarterback Podcast, and of course, over at the Daily Blitz. Check out his article as he breaks down everything this wild card weekend and had a wonderful recap of the national championship game. Christian, which high seed in the wild card weekend has the biggest chance, has the most likelihood of being upset this weekend? And here's the thing. We all know, I ask you this because we know in the NFL, especially this weekend specifically, there's going to be upsets. What is the upset you're looking and keeping your eye on the most?
Wow, you're just really going to put me on the spot like that. You're lucky.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
Wow, that is a really good question. I will say, and you know what? Believe it or not, look out for Philly to upset Tampa because they can run the ball, they can slow the game down, and to play Tom Brady, one, you have to get him in long yardage situations. I'm talking 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, 3rd and 25, 2nd and 30. Look, it's possible, but the best way to beat him is if you have linebackers sitting right on the line of scrimmage. You look like you're about to show blitz, and then you drop back. So take away the middle of the field. Make him throw it over the top outside the numbers.
Deb?
So I gotta say I'm really iffy on that one, and that's just because I like Tom Brady a lot. But definitely, I gotta say, if anything here, I'm with you on the whole. If the Steelers run the ball, they can definitely, kind of cut Mahomes down here. But I gotta say, I'll just ask the opposite question. Who do you think has the easiest chance? What is the least likely upset? I guess if we can ask that kind of question.
I think Buffalo over New England because I think Buffalo has really figured New England out. That second game when they played in Foxborough, they figured New England out. They know they had to make adjustments, and I thought that was their best win of the year because they were able to run the ball. You saw what happened with Josh Allen a couple of weeks before that game. He hurt his foot because they were depending on him a little too much. And I remember telling you guys during the regular season, week 1, to be exact, after Pittsburgh beat Buffalo, I said, look, this team is way too dependent on Josh Allen. They have to run the football. And now they're making it a point of emphasis to pound that rock in between the trenches and in the tackles, take pressure off Josh Allen. And the defense has also been pretty good. New England, look, they've been a great story this year, but I don't know if they have enough offensive firepower. This is going to be a hard-hitting, physical game, and it's supposed to be very cold. And games like this are the reason why I do what I do now. I'm glad I don't play anymore because I don't know if I'll be able to handle those frigid conditions, man.
Well, we know football and tradition and the conditions, and you can't speak of any other team like Buffalo. And if we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills in the AFC having an easy way and might be a team that finds their way into the Super Bowl, what about a team they have some history with in the Dallas Cowboys? What is up with Dak, Lamb, Cooper, Zeke? What are they going to do? Is this it? McCarthy, if he doesn't win, he's out. Do they have to have a deep run? Can they have a deep run? Are they more for real than a Cardinals or a Niners or a Ram? Where are you with the Dallas Cowboys?
They're so consistently inconsistent, Mikey, because when they're balanced, they're a tough out. When they get Zeke going and they're running Tony Pollard, what's that do? That creates leeway and paths for Dak to make passes down the field. And it seems like they're depending on Dak to throw the ball 45 times in order for them to win. He's not that type of quarterback. Unfortunately, he needs a running game to lean on. Their defense, they're okay. I mean, there's nothing to really brag about. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Trayvon Diggs, but the great corners are able to shut down an entire side of the field. Teams still throw at Trayvon Diggs. Think about it. Like when Darrelle Revis had that 1 year, when he was in his peak, nobody was throwing in the direction of Darrelle Revis. You know, my guy, Charles Woodson, nobody would throw in his direction. Champ Bailey was shut down an entire side of the field. So would Richard Sherman. Well, he had the luxury of having the two best safeties in football covering him behind him. But teams are still attacking him. And this isn't going to be an easy game for them because San Fran is hot. They're playing with a lot of confidence across the board. And they have one of my favorite players in the league right now. I'm talking about that guy that wears the number 19. He goes by the name of Deebo Samuel. He is what I call the Joker of this offense because he's able to do a plethora of things to move the football down the field. You can line him up wide. You can line him in the slot. You can line him up in the backfield. Give him the ball on jet sweeps. And he just has a knack for consistently attacking the line of scrimmage. He can have 80 or 90 yards receiving and 40 or 50 yards rushing. So that's what I mean when I talk about attacking the line of scrimmage. But I think the best asset of his game is his ability to run block. I don't care what you do with the ball. It's what you can do without it. And he can really get physical, play downhill, and really push guys off that line of scrimmage.
Christian Simpson will be covering the entire wild card weekend, and he will be making his predictions, looking through the entire weekend game of really interesting and would have a lot of historic meaning behind the matchups. These are a lot of cool legacy games, and it's going to be interesting what happens in the NFC and AFC. Before we let you go, Christian, what is a matchup we haven't talked about that you'll be covering? What is a prediction of a game that we haven't mentioned yet that really has you intrigued, and which way you think it might end up going?
I'm looking at the Cardinals and Rams. You know, they played twice during the regular season. The first time when they did, Arizona went in there and really punched the Rams in the mouth. Then the second time when they played, the Rams returned the favor. This is the third in the deciding game, probably the most important one of them all. You really see how valuable DeAndre Hopkins is to this Arizona offense because he allows people to play in their natural spots. And he's really that safety valve for Kyler Murray. Kyler knows he can just heave it up. And he just knows that number 10 is going to come away with it somehow, some way. And then you look at the Rams, Matthew Stafford has to take better care of the ball. Like seriously, he's throwing the ball all over the field. But then again, it's that gunslinger mentality. And that can really get you in a boatload of trouble. I think, you know, with this game being on Monday night, being the first ever Monday night playoff game, everybody's going to be tuned in for this one.
It is always our pleasure to have the one and only Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz, the host of the Monday Evening Quarterback. Brother, where can everybody find you?
You can find me, man. Go enter your email address. Log on to the website, which is dailyblitz.blog. Become a subscriber today. Like the Facebook fan page, facebook.com. Go to the Facebook, go to the search box, type in the Daily Blitz. Follow us on Twitter at Daily Blitz _61. And follow us on Instagram at the Daily Blitz _61.
He's one of our favorites. Christian Simpson joined us today here on the Sports Cubicle. It's Dan Marver, Paul Chivari, Devin Tingle, and myself, Mike Mercado. We got more coming up next here on the Sports Cubicle on WCPT 820 AM.